Welcome to Watch Symposium. I'm Austin. All right, so I just finished at the sports club, so you know I'm wearing the Casio F91W. You can see that I was using the chronograph, and well, I hit the 2-hour mark 1 minute and 38 seconds ago, but I got out with three minutes to spare, so I didn't have to pay any extra money. I never have to pay any extra money because I'm always really conscientious of the time thanks to this. You guys know that I sleep in this watch. I've told you that before, but for the past 2 weeks, I've actually just worn nothing but the Explorer 2, even at night. And it's not like I go to bed and say, hey, I'm gonna wear the Explorer 2 on my wrist. It's just it's something I don't even think about. I just wear it and you know, get up, and in the morning I have it on my wrist. And the only time I have taken the Explorer off, the Explorer 2 off in the past 2 weeks is just to shower. That's pretty much it. So this is the first day, well, I guess since I last came to the sports club, that I haven't had something on my wrist aside from the Explorer 2. I don't know why, but I really like that watch. You know, I always say that the GMT Master 2 would be my one watch if I could pare down, or if I had to pare down, because of that movable bezel. But I don't know, I really do like the Explorer 2. I love the dial. So I might be on the same page as Archie in that respect. It's interesting, I like the solidness of the fixed bezel. It's really nice. Yeah, you can't use it for timing, but it's got a nice, really solid metal feel. I love the fact it's not painted, it's metal. It's a fantastic watch, I gotta say. I really think that might be my favorite watch. And I was telling this to Danny, the reason I like that watch so much is because it's not really, well, it looks minty, but when you look closely, it does have wear. And for that reason, I'm totally cavalier about wearing it. And I enjoy it more than the other watches because of that. It's interesting because if that was an unpolished minty piece, I wouldn't enjoy it as much. It's because it already has some wear on it that I can really sit back and enjoy it and not worry about it at all. And I guess that's what it's about, just finding a watch that you can be comfortable with. I guess it's like finding a woman, you know, I mean, that you can relate to and feel comfortable with. I had a girlfriend ages ago, a Japanese girlfriend, and she used to always say she liked me because it was really comfortable being with me. She could really be herself, and I think that's the thing with Explorer 2. I don't have to think about it. I'm so comfortable doing anything, and I don't stress about it, and it doesn't wear me. I wear it, and it's more of a balanced relationship than something like my GMT Master 2 that's all polished. Well, no, it's unpolished and minty, and you know, I don't want to hurt it, and I take care of it, and I baby it and that kind of thing. I have so much more fun with so much more comfortable feeling with the Explorer 2. All right, well, that's not really what I want to talk about today. Let me switch arms, and before I get into what I want to talk about, let me just show you some watch-related things I got at a 100-yen store. So, well, I got this for my daughter, and this is like her second 100-yen watch. She has a Blue Planet, and this is actually another Blue Planet, but this one is so tiny. I don't know if you can, yeah, I mean, you can see. And it's just really really simple, and it's pink. I think she'll like it. And it was 100 yen, so she'll probably put it on and wear it for a little bit, and Sophie will try it, and back and forth, and they'll lose interest in it. But yeah, I spotted this when I was getting what I really went there to get, which was this. 200 yen. And this is a case back opener, which doubles as a really nasty self-defense tool. Yeah, I'm gonna try to change out the batteries of Uncle Reg's old watches, and I needed this to get the watches open, to get the batteries out, to know what I need to get. So got this. I also got a bunch of 100 yen toys, which are just kind of fun and just what we need. More low quality toys in at home, but my daughters love new toys and opening things up, and these, you put them in water and then they open up and they're like sea life. You got a shark and a turtle, a squid, all of these things. We have another set that's dinosaurs, and they love to play with them in the bath. What else? I'm going off on a tangent, I know, but a little monkey game here. So that should be fun, a little monkey balancing game. I guess this is like some game where you stick these little things in, and then if you stick the little swords in the wrong one, the angry bird will pop out. That's kind of should be fun. And I think the last one is kind of similar to the monkey thing, but it's like a balance thing. This is like a tower, and yeah, it should be just kind of fun to play with. All right, so switch back my arms, and let's talk about independence, and by that I mean people that work on watches that are not affiliated with Rolex. Now, you guys know how I feel about that. I will probably never use an independent. Well, I guess if I hold on to the Submariner, I can't take it back to Rolex. I'm gonna get non-tritium hands on it. I just know. I barely skated by with those tritium hands this time, but that tritium's thin enough that they're gonna try and replace them if I go to Rolex. So I may have to not take my own advice, or just suck it up and get the non-tritium hands, which, yeah, I'll have to think about that. But well, you guys know that I'm not a fan of independence, and link in the description. I saw an interesting thread, the Rolex forum, which I've been posting links to there a lot. I love the Rolex forum. Very, very interesting place, and you learn a lot. And what I learned from this picture, which is basically looking at I guess was a Submariner that's broken down. Well, my first reaction was, yeah, that's interesting. There's a lot of parts. And then you read some of the comments, and it's pointed out that this independent is putting all the parts together to be cleaned, including the hands. And it's something that didn't even register with me, something that I didn't even see. I wouldn't have noticed it. But upon noticing it, you realize, yeah, that's not a good thing. Rolex doesn't do that. They separate the parts completely so they don't knock against each other. You wouldn't want your hands, you wouldn't want your minute hand and your hour hand knocking against each other, and other things, and in there with the dial, scratching, micro scratches, little hairline scratches you might not be able to see, but that, well, could affect the appearance, the way it reflects light, and so forth. So that is yet another reason why I just couldn't or wouldn't want to do an independent. These little workflow practices that people don't really think about that have a negative impact on your watch. And Rolex does think about these things, and that's why they separate the parts completely. Nothing's going to be scratching your hour hand or your minute hand or your dial. To lump them all together to clean, that's just, yeah, it's unacceptable. And it's not something I would have thought of either, really. But that is another reason to avoid independence. Now, in the Rolex forum, you'll see a lot of people that are very happy with their independent. And I chalk that up to really not knowing any better. My wife makes a great French apple pie. She got the recipe from my mother, does an unbelievable one. The tastes are the same, but my wife's isn't as beautiful as my mother's. My mother's a very good cook and a very good baker as well. And my 4-year-old daughter, when she was younger, she's aware enough that I don't think it'd work these days, but French apple pie has icing, and my wife would put the icing on my sort of half of the pie, and the other half would be what Sarah would get her pieces from. It wouldn't have any icing on it. Sarah loved it. She loved apple pie. She didn't know any better. But now, being 4, she's had a few bites of a French apple pie that was supposed to be with icing, and she didn't want to go back. And I feel the same could be said of many people who use an independent. You might look at your watch and you might think, hey, it couldn't be better. It couldn't be better. It's great. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you don't know what Rolex can do. You don't know the polish that the watch you're perfectly happy with could have if it had gone through Rolex. You don't know how accurate it could be. You don't know a lot of things. You don't know the practices that the watchmaker, carried out. And you don't know what they did with of course, at Rolex either, but it's, I think, more checks and balances there, and more scrutiny, and an independent guy that works for himself. Corners can be cut, you wouldn't know it, and you might be very happy with what you get, but it's not worth it. Taking a $5,000 watch and cheaping out, and I know $350 sounds better than $800, but you don't need a service often. And when you do get one, it really, in my opinion, should be by Rolex. I mean, they know how to service their watches the best. And on polish alone, I would go with Rolex, just the way they polish. Boy, a bad polish, you're screwed. You're screwed. What are you going to do? That's another thing. That is another thing, because Rolex will make it right. When I wasn't happy with my GMT Master 2, and when I say I wasn't happy, the accuracy and the alignment of the bezel, really kind of minor things, but they were big to me and they were important to me. They were rectified. Yeah, I mean, they were a little snippy. You could tell they wanted to send me on my way, and maybe it's the fact that they worked at Rolex, and I was trying to school them, and how dare you? You should be happy with what you get, and I wasn't having it. But I persisted, and I got what I needed and what I wanted, and I was satisfied in the end. And with an independent, well, many people can be sort of defensive about their work, and I don't know if I could have pushed it the way I did with an independent. He probably would have told me to get the fuck out of his shop, and that could have what would I have done then? Yeah, so with Rolex, they kind of had to deal with me, and I could read between the lines of the facial expressions to see that they really weren't happy, but they're not going to tell me to get out, and they're going to be polite, and they were. And you can read between the lines and see maybe that they're a little frustrated with your pickiness, but you can force them to satisfy your demands as long as they're reasonable, and mine were. And with an independent, I don't think that's always the case. So I think once an independent has your watch, you're in a real powerless position. You're kind of at the watchmaker's mercy, and if everything goes well, that's great, but you don't have really a lot of leverage, whereas I felt I really did with Rolex in Fukuoka. I could have taken my complaints to the head Rolex Japan office in Tokyo, or I could have written letters to Geneva. Now, I didn't need to take the nuclear option at all, but I could have, and that's not something you could do with an independent. But I think that really is kind of important. When you give your watch to somebody, you're at their mercy, and they can do anything they want to it. And that includes Rolex. I mean, they can change parts and tell you, hey, we needed to do it, and your tritium hands are gone, and you ain't getting them back, and you're paying for new ones. And that sucks. And that is one thing about an independent that they can, I guess, work with you on. But they now have your watch, and you're sort of just having to pray and hope that they do a good job. And if they don't, well, you gotta be real nice about broaching this subject of it not being accurate enough, because the independent might refuse it and whatnot, whereas that's not really something I worried about with Rolex. I mean, I was nice, but I never had to worry about the man behind the counter at the Rolex Service Center in Fukuoka saying, "Get out, I'm done with you." As long as I kept my cool, he kind of had to keep his and just made sure I was satisfied. So that's yet another reason. I'm gonna do another sort of video about this, but my grandfather's Timex, getting a little bit sniffly. My grandfather's Timex is back. I wore it one day. I checked the time, and it was 10 minutes fast. So it's gaining like 10 minutes. I don't know. I can't remember. 10 minutes a day. Too much to deal with. It got knocked around in transit, or I perhaps maybe magnetized. I'm not sure. It's been sitting on a shelf for the past couple weeks, and I don't quite know what to do with it. the man that worked on it has been contacted, and he's in Florida. They guarantee their work. But he said that, any competent watchmaker could regulate it, so that would be an option here. But I was looking at it today, and there are specks of dust and debris on the dial, and it's a white dial. And I just thought, fuck that. I mean, it's not acceptable, so I'm going to send it back. And that's another thing I'm going to say, regulate it. Again, and it's probably not their fault that it wasn't regulated, but the debris on the dial is unacceptable. Get one of those air blowers that photographers use, for Christ's sake. That's what I say, man. I mean, an independent, like, this is an older guy, and I don't know if his eyes are bad, I don't know what's going on, but it's those little things that just you wouldn't have to worry about that at Rolex. I mean, debris on the dial, and not one piece, just like a few. One hard spray of one of those air blowers that you squeeze to get dust off your lens, that photographers use, it'd be gone, and it wasn't done, or I don't know. It's hard to know what happened. Yet another reason to avoid independence. Now, in this case, he's really one of the few guys I think that could work on these old Timexes, or maybe not. I don't know. He is an independent, and he was recommended by Timex. So we'll rectify it. We'll get it done. But yeah, independents. Not keen on them. Not keen on dealing with them. Not keen on their various work practices that I have no confidence in. And from the independents that I've dealt with, one's been okay. The one that worked on the wedge field was fine. The one that worked on the Hamilton came back and stopped a few times, sent it back. It's been fine ever since. That was fine, but a bit sketchy. That was Alex, by the way. Alex in Fukuoka. That's the store's name. And then this one, this Timex, the debris. No, so yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do about my sub, but yeah, I think I might not be having tritium hands. That's what I might be doing. But anyway, a little watch talk for you. Thanks for watching. Take care. See you next time.